Welcome, everybody. It is a wonderful Monday night. And for those of you that don't understand, John just decided to count down after nowhere. He asks a question, Cubbie asks a question, and then he goes, oh, by the way, we're going to get started here. So, yeah, that's the way this goes. But hopefully you had a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and you are ready to dive in to some interesting questions because we got them for you.
It is that time of the month with the DJ Q&A time. Oh, we got some good stuff tonight. Some good questions here.
And we got some bad ones we're going to just throw in for filler.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. If you don't like the question,
one that you asked for, that one's going to be the filler.
Yeah. Well, if somebody's watching and they're like, yeah, that's a bad question. Yeah, that was indeed the bad question that we threw in there. So just wanted to let you know. So, but if you liked it, that was a good one that we threw in there just for you.
We got to balance. You got to have a good balance.
Exactly. Well, we'll cover the bases. So, let's get going, guys. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Awesome.
Okay.
Question number 1 tonight. Have you guys ever been involved as far as joining like a chamber of commerce or something to that effect to kind of help promote and help your business become part of the community?
I'll take it first because this is really easy. No, I have not. Mainly because their meetings are all with the full-time job. Their meetings are times that I can't attend, except for maybe summers, and it costs benefit in those small windows. Not for me. Cubbie?
I'm with Dan. No, I have not joined the chamber. What I found with chamber people is they'd love to use you for exposure, and I can't cash exposure checks. And it didn't really lead. It didn't. I tried it once, and it didn't do it. Literally, no leads, no corporate events, just whatever I could do for the chamber or free for somebody's opening.
So over the years, I think I've been involved with 4 or 5 different chambers. Granted, we have our small town here that we're in of 300 people. They had a JC's that was as close to, the Junior Chamber of Commerce is what the JC's used to be considered, but that really whatever. But the business, we've been involved with 4 different ones over the years. And they, when we were involved, there were a couple of times where someone did hire us, a different business would hire us and paid our rate to come in and do like a holiday party. Or one of them had us do a picnic for them. Out of, probably 10 years of being involved with different chambers, I think we booked 2 shows out of it. With that being said, we haven't been involved with the chamber probably in nearly 20 years with any chamber beyond now working for a couple of them because they have different things that are going on, different celebrations, what have you, community events. And they hire us to come in and do sound for either doing sound all around the fairground or sound up and down the streets when they do their holiday kickoff party. I've toyed around with joining the chamber, but there's a part of me that, as kind of like Dan was alluding to, is that their meeting times just aren't coinciding with what I have available for that type. And there's really not much I can bring to the table for labor. That's what they're really looking for, is they need hands to have a chamber booth here and a chamber booth there and to do, go and do a ribbon cutting over here. And I don't have time to be doing that kind of stuff because it's just not going to benefit me enough in the long run. So it is possible. It's like any other networking thing. If you get lucky, it can work. Most likely, it'll be like Cubbie said, is that they want, everyone wants to be like, hey, we'll just have, I'm a chamber member too. Do I get a discount? That kind of a thing.
I will say though, like I know Robbie Britton down in Tennessee. He's part of one and very pro. Maybe it's not the chamber necessarily, but it's a
BMI.
It's a networking group of some sort. Yeah.
It's a networking group of some sort. And gets a lot of benefit out of it. So, very much promotes it between, learning different things, being a part of different things and its work. Now he also has a few different businesses. I think that's the other key point. Like I'm mainly doing weddings and, and school dances. I really don't think that's going to benefit that corporate side of it as much. But somebody who's involved in, in the games that are going to be corporate icebreakers and that kind of thing, or even the potential of like the trivia nights and stuff like that. I think it has a potential with the right group and the right networking, but that's also kind of the question that you need to ask is maybe the chamber is not the perfect one for you, but a different networking group might be better. So I wouldn't totally write it off. Obviously look at the pros and cons of each one and see if it's going to benefit you for what you also do.
Very good point. Yeah, they as a wedding DJ, it probably wouldn't fit virtually at all because you might get lucky and there's one person on the chamber that is of that age or of that position in life. Whereas myself, it's a corporate type of an event. I'm doing sound reinforcement, or we were doing corporate type parties back in the day. So yeah, good, good, good advice there, Dan. All right, let's jump to our next question tonight. Question 2 tonight, guys. Are there any songs that from 2024 that you have heard that are or that have been asked for at your events, or anything that might be making it that people should be aware of that are kind of standing out as something that might be have a little bit of longevity, or even might even go over at a party this year only, but anything.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking before we went on air. I think Chapel Roan's "Hot to Go" is the new YMCA for the younger crowd. I played it this weekend and it just hit. It just hit really hard. I think another song would be "Miles on It" by Kane Brown and Marshmello. Yeah, it's a good country segue. It's getting some a lot of airplay for like Kiss 107's, kind of like the modern, the new music, kind of getting some airplay for crossover.
Mm-hmm.
And Shabuzi's been out for a while with Tipsy, the bar song. Um, it's been out for a couple months, but I think it's gonna have some little bit of longevity, more than Little Boo Thing. Little Boo Thing kind of came and gone, but that's what I'm
Yeah.
finding so far.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, it seems like there's been a definitely a resurgence within country music. I don't know if it is the fact that they're willing to put out some tracks that kind of have a mainstream dance appeal, where some of the pop stuff isn't as much. I don't know if it's because of some artists that are kind of creating that crossover effect. I'm not really 100% sure what's causing the resurgence, but definitely the tracks that Cubbie was mentioning. But I would also throw in there Post Malone. I Had Some Help, another country song, and then for whatever reason, I still have yet to understand why the video looks like an old country western performance. But the new one with Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga, the Die with a Smile. It's not going to be a fast track for you. With the right crowd, it could definitely be a good slow track. It could have some other places that you could use it. But uh, I didn't have an event this past weekend, but I was talking with a friend of mine. He had a request, and he said it was probably the strongest like reaction of
Hmm.
any of the music he played that night, which is kind of
Interesting.
interesting because we don't necessarily think of a strong reaction and a slow song kind of going together. But definitely something to kind of keep in mind.
Interesting. Yeah, and so far with the weddings and such we've been doing, I think Shibuzi's the only one that's been a more recent song in the last probably 2 or 3 years that has been requested. Otherwise, there just hasn't. We haven't had anything requested that's newer. We'll have more things from the '90s requested than from the 2000s, almost it seems yet, and
Yeah.
and that's even from younger people. So, all right, good, good. Let's go to our next question, guys. Question 3 tonight. Do you guys turn the volume down? Say if you've got a song where they can like sing the refrain or they shout out some part of the. Do you pull the volume down so that the crowd be like yeah and they scream over top of or do you just basically let the volume go and maybe visually hype them up but don't do the audio drop up and down at your shows?
Yes, I do both. It really kind of depends upon the crowd that I have and the reaction that I'm going to get. So early on, if I'm wanting them, if I notice they're not really singing necessarily, if they're kind of like a couple are, but not a lot, I'll pull the volume completely out with that idea of prompting them. Um, then after I've kind of, for lack of better terms, trained them that yes, it's okay. I want you to sing along to the music. I'll use stems and I'll take the vocals out
Hmm.
in those spots. So the music's still there, but suddenly the lyrics, they're not competing with the artist's lyrics. So it has kind of that same feel of lowering it without completely dropping it out.
Cubbie, how do you do that?
Same thing with Dan. Situational. I'm gonna start using the stems. That's a great idea, John. Or Dan, sorry.
Yeah, that is.
Using the stems, I would drop the total volume down. So I'm gonna start using stems, and I think it'd be huge. To keep the backing on there, the music without dropping everything.
Mm-hmm. And I have done it like once or twice, but I don't like to do it. I
Yeah.
absolutely hate I hate all of a sudden having dead air or the seemingly dead air. I mean, you pull it down and because I've watched DJs do this in the past, 10 years ago, and they would do that and they were timing it off the crowd when the crowd would sing the lines. And when they would do the dun 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 type of thing, and well, then the crowd would start singing the dun 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 slower, and then it cuts into the next thing as they were having the volume down while they did the whole. And it's like it just didn't make me excited for the party. And if I'm not hyped up or thinking that this is an enhancer for the party, if I don't feel that, I can't sell it visually that I'm excited about pulling this volume down so you people can sing all to your hearts. I couldn't get into it. The stem idea though, I really do like that. That's a great idea, Dan. And now Cubbie and I are going to steal that and we're going to take over the world.
Dan's 2 for 2 tonight. Look at him go.
I would encourage, like, if another way to kind of do the dropout without doing a complete dropout, like, and I know exactly what you're talking about, John, and anybody who's taken the music out knows, right? Like they're singing along and they don't have the beat in their head. Maybe they're too drunk, maybe it's whatever. But to not drop it all the way down, but to drop it like to half volume. And one of the other effects, like if I'm doing that early on, that has a little bit more effect than later, and not because of the alcohol, but because the first time you do it, if you drop it all the way, they kind of give you the look like what happened? Like even though
Yeah.
it's a spot that they know is supposed to, like, they can sing along, they're like, why did the music go out? Like what happened? So if you can drop it to like a half volume, so there's still something there, but it's not, you kind of keep that tempo going, you give them kind of that permission. And then again, the stems really works nice, especially later on. And I also say stems works really nice if you don't have a ton of people screaming at the top of their lungs, because like it's still there and it's encouraged. But if you only have 25 people on the dance floor like singing,
That could
it's
be
not
that
as
could
crazy. Like with the stems, it's helpful.
you pull them.
Yeah, like you drop the music out and two people go,
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you hear
Okay.
crickets in the background. It's like, oh wait, no,
crickets.
I shouldn't have mentioned crickets. Now all of a sudden there'll probably be one that'll come into the office. So we've been good so far this fall. Yeah, that's yet to come. Okay, so let's jump to our next. I got to get the questions back up again. Yeah, okay, there we go. Next question, guys. Our next question is client meetings. When you're meeting, and this wouldn't be a pre-booking, but it could be, but most likely when you're actually doing a planning meeting, and if you're meeting at like a coffee shop or maybe a restaurant or something to actually do business with them, where you've already got them on the line. They're already contracted, would be the area I would see this happening. But would you pick up, say if you met with them and you're just doing coffee drinks, would you pick up their coffee drink or their drinks, or would everyone go Dutch in this situation? Cubbie, you can start this one.
Oh, maybe good. Maybe I can get a good answer. If I met at a restaurant, I would. I'd probably get an appetizer, but I like, in my area we have Panera Breads. I think they're universal. But in my area we meet at Panera Breads, where I can sneak in, take a table without some young lady working for a tip, offer them to see if they want a coffee or a Danish or something, or a soda drink. And a lot of times I just say no. We go in and do our meeting, but that way I'm not really taking a table from somebody working for tips. But yes, I would.
I would ask, who meets in a coffee shop anymore?
There's-
I mean, nothing. I'm not dogging Cubbie and what he's saying there. I'm just saying it seems like anymore, I just don't meet in person
Hmm.
with my couples. But
There's that too.
I say that, but I've maybe a handful in the last year or two, that they just like, you know what, we'd rather just meet in person. We're right in town, why not? And it's all right. But I offer, hey, what can I get you as soon as you want something to drink? Let me go take care of it. A lot of times my couples are like, no, no, either we've got it, or we're good, we don't need anything. But I mean, I've had some that have done that. And again, I really like with the coffee shops, it's like, come on, it's a couple bucks, maybe $5 depending upon what you decided to get them. It's it If you're not willing to do that, especially for the clients that are sitting in front of you and have booked you for your rate, come on.
Yep.
So, my way to handle this is when I go to the meeting, I wear holy clothes, holy pants and such. And when we start having a conversation, I like to work in that, I'm really hoping that I'll be able to afford some new pants before your wedding. Oh, did you guys want something? Yeah, let me see if I can. And I pull out my little coin purse, the one that grandma had, and you open it up and the dust blows. And then, do you think they take bicentennial quarter, that kind of thing? And it's amazing. Pretty much all of my drinks get paid for.
I have had some clients buy for me.
Yeah.
That
Actually, that legitimately is. I think they've offered to buy it before I've even we shake, and they're they didn't even finish with the hellos, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get you something. What do you want? Oh, okay. I was gonna pick up the bill, but I'm not gonna argue.
I get free from Panera anyway, so
Oh, so there you guys have got this figured out. Here
yeah.
I've got to make sure I got good holy pants each and every time. Each and every time. Okay, let's jump to our next question. Our next question is about deployment. If you have a couple and one or both, but most of the time one of them could be potentially deployed because of their military service, how would you handle if they needed to either cancel or reschedule when it came to this? Keeping in mind that we're running a business and this might have happened at a month and a half, 2 months out. I don't know how from the time of that to that, how far out it is, but if it gets to the point where you can't rebook the date, and yet you're running a business, how would you handle that? Dan, I think you get to start this one.
This falls into a line that I think a lot of DJs are just, I get it, it's a business, but there's also a karma aspect to this, and this is word of mouth. If you are not being flexible with a couple who was planning a wedding and got deployed, it was not like, hey, I'm going on the country on vacation. Like, this is a deployment. If you're not willing to be flexible with that situation, it's going to cost you more than that wedding would by sticking to your guns with the payments. Find a way to be flexible. Now, I personally go into the philosophy of we're going to reschedule. I don't really want to go into the cancellation type of standpoint. I've had a couple where that's been the situation, and like, listen, we've got enough planned. We're going to move it up. Now the date doesn't work. Now it's a different situation. But if they're like, we're going to postpone it till they get back from deployment, all right. Tell you what, as soon as you know when that is, call me. We'll move everything to that new date as long as I have it available. And if I don't, I'll help you find the right person for you.
Cubbie, how do you handle those situations?
If it's an email situation, I'm going to contact the venue and or the photographer and find out if they got the same story. Not that I just not believe them, but there's things that happen where people cancel and they might use some sort of excuse, family death, or saying
Yep.
so. I would try to verify something. Then if it's everything is legit for me, and this is my I'm as I did my time in the military. I would move it, no questions asked. They may not get the original DJ that they booked with, but we will work with them. No matter what. Um, I would probably still pay my DJ that for that night off and just kind of take the hit. I don't know. I love my country. I understand it's a business, but like Dan said, karma. You got to do right. If everything's legit and above board,
Yeah.
you got to do right. It's like he chose it. It is not a decision that they took lightly. You get poor kids getting deployed. And, um, I would do it. I would move it, do whatever I had to do to help them out.
I like that. That you got to do right. That's a good phrase there, guys. Definitely a good phrase.
I got one, Dan. I
Yeah.
got one. I got one.
Um, yeah, I've had situations, that these have popped up over the years, and thankfully I haven't been in that point financially where that was going to make a big deal. And you just in the cases with mine, there was neither at a time it was a rebook. It was they couldn't do it, and they were just going to elope, and they didn't think they were going to have a party in 2 years, and if they would, whatever it was, they were longer, maybe not 2 years, but so they just did their thing, and yeah, I just returned after confirming that it was indeed legitimate. And sometimes it's really easy, and sometimes it's really difficult. But in my cases, the venues, I knew the managers of the venues, and it's like, hey, yeah, he's going to be going to Iraq or wherever. So, yeah.
The other thing that I would throw out there, again, it's a business, I get that, but the thing that comes back into my head, especially in these types of situations, is think about what that couple is going to be sacrificing as a result of the one member being overseas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the first part of their marriage is going to be gone, or they're not even married yet, right? And so this relationship is going to be completely overseas. They are sacrificing a lot. You can sacrifice something to do what you need to do to kind of help that situation like that. Like that's the kind of thought that goes through my head, is like, I want to go, well, the contract says this, and if you had insurance, everything would be covered. Like if you had wedding insurance, everything would be covered, and so I don't have to be the bad guy here, everybody gets taken care of. But in the same respect, bottom line is that wasn't done. And if I'm not willing to sacrifice what they're willing to do, I shouldn't have I don't have a leg to stand on here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know it's the contract, and know technically your business does, but be decent.
What is it? The golden rule: do unto you, do unto others as you want done unto you. And a situation happened to your family, and it's not a decision they made. That somebody's telling them they have to be deployed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's not a personal decision. So yeah, just do right, man.
Next question, guys. We'll jump to it. Our next question tonight, I have been seeing DJs say that they've got bookings going into 2027 now, and back and forth, that there's always, that kind of a contest going on. But the question becomes is, how far out would you be willing to take? And we're going to specifically be talking weddings. If somebody's like, hey, I want to book you for my wedding, and we're getting married in da-da-da-da year, how far out would you be willing to book? Obviously
Yeah,
2025, we're going to just as a given. So if you say that that's as far
yeah.
as you're going to go, that's pretty lame. But, go ahead.
I guess I'm starting here. I don't like to go out 2 years. There's some different things within kind of my own personal kind of setup with that family, situations. I'm not 100% sure how I want to handle my business in certain aspects. Am I going to have any certain add-ons? Is there anything I want to get rid of, or stuff that I want to, adding, stuff I bring in that I can sell later, but is there stuff I want to get rid of? Like, it's just, I don't like that 2-year aspect. In the same respect, I have one on the books for 2026. But I will say this, when they reached out, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to accept it yet. Like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, is there something that's going to come up that weekend? Um, so 18 months was kind of customary, because that would be like spring of 2024, fall of 2025. Okay.
Yep.
But when you're talking like, okay, we're summer 2024 and they're talking fall 2026, that's where I was kind of like I went forward, but I was like, do I really want to?
Cubbie, what are your thoughts?
As a multi-op, I'm going to take as far as they want to go, because I'll always have somebody willing, wanting or willing to do the event.
Mm-hmm.
As far as pricing, it is what it is. I know that one year gas was really low, that the next year was like really high, so my mileage was off a little bit, so you can take some of that in perspective. But as far as me and multi-op, I'm going to continue to book. I thank goodness, I thank God every day for the business that I have and the people that want to book me and book me so far out so they can secure it. 2027 is outrageous. Yeah, that's crazy. None of that, but We're into 2026, and we're gonna take them. And yeah, every like I tell my guys, make sure you have your birthdays in there, your wife's birthdays, your family birthdays, graduations always have the same time every year. And I think, like I said, couples are pretty cool that I like, hey, look, you don't get this DJ because his daughter's graduating, so you get this one. Who's gonna say no to that, right? The bride's be like, no, he better do he really, it's his daughter's graduation. So um then you refund their deposit and go, you are not my client. uh, I can tell already we're not gonna, and I've done that before too. I have refunded money and says, look, I just don't think we're the good fit for each other. So here you go. And that really makes them mad. What do you mean? I just don't think I can do what you want me to. You're really outrageous. And so here's your money back. But yeah.
Oh, sorry, Cubbie. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I'm done.
Dan, did you have something?
Well, I asked you, like, how far would you go?
This is a typically about a year ahead. So I would be kind of limiting it to 2025. With that being said, there's a part of me, because of taking a day job and working that, is I just don't know how far, how much I want to be working during the wedding season, truthfully, which is very difficult because if you're a wedding DJ, and I haven't figured that one out yet, even for next year. I would be, if somebody calls and says, hey, we want to book you for a June date, I've already got a couple of the June dates booked, but I think I might get to a point where after like 2 weekends are booked in some of those prime months, like June, September type of thing, that'll be it. I'm not going to go into 2026. I don't think I would at this particular time, in many ways because of what you're saying, Dan, with you just not knowing if you're going to change things, or even if things in life might change to the point where this isn't for me. And my staff, in essence, is family, and if we as a family are doing something different, they would, the kids have mentioned numerous times that they would much rather go and do a family thing, whether it's a camping trip or something, than to go DJ. They enjoy it and they make decent money at it, but they would rather have that family time. So, and I guess that's not a bad thing.
I will say, if there, keep in mind when it's far out, if you're kind of in that in between area, like, oh, I kind of want to take it, but I kind of don't. Also think about, what packages that they're looking at, or what are they planning on purchasing with what they have? What's the venue? Is this going to be a venue that you really like being at? If it's something that's going to make it, a great day for you, both financially and the amount of effort, maybe suddenly you break the rule for one or two.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. That would definitely make a lot of sense. But it seems like sometimes those early ones that are booking 2-3 years out, it's like, we've got this beautiful barn. It's going to be great. And it's in the middle of July. Oh, it's going to be just absolutely fabulous. Think of the late evening sun coming across there and the pictures we're going to get. It's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be 93 degrees and humidity is going to be really super high and mosquitoes are going to be out, but it'll be fun in July. Yeah.
Were you the one that booked me for the 2026?
Yeah, pretty much.
It was like the line verbatim.
Yeah, it'll be great. All right, let's jump to our next one.
I don't.
So for the next question tonight, there's been a lot of debate about how many circuits DJs should require in their contract for their DJ gear. And I was reading one today. He was saying that he was going through and he's kind of listing what he had for a system. He's like, I think I need 4 circuits from what I'm figuring out here with all my gear and such. First off, I wanted to kind of get an idea of what you guys, if you have some sort of a rider or anything within your contract to say, I need to have X, Y, or Z when it comes to power. And then we'll kind of dig into how you would figure out if you're going to be, how you feel you're figuring out if you're going to be safe with what you have. And then we'll dig into the other stuff in a second. So, Cubbie, do you have any kind of a rider? Or
I am. Yeah, I do. Well, yeah, I'm not going to get a good answer on this one. We do have it in our contract, a number of circuits. Do not ask me what it is right now, but it is in there. But we basically just need a standard outlet because our lights are tube lighting, so they're battery operated. We're not really pulling a lot of pulling a lot of power, so I sell them a standard outlet.
Mm-hmm. Dan, what about yourself?
So I used to have it into my contract that I needed access, and it was like a proximity to two different outlets is the way I worded it. Did I need the two outlets? Absolutely not. It was just one of those precautionary type of deals. So that way, one, I wasn't running everything off of one extension cord, and two, uh, you know, if they decided to put, their crock pots on the one, it gave me a second one that I could kind of go to. So that was the reasons. I would recommend, and this is some. I almost feel like this was a Ben Stowe question. Seriously, like
Yeah.
why are we
Well,
with
yeah,
this?
but this is
But um,
you're in the field, you're actually doing it. So now, do you require, or how do you, when
No, I don't I don't require anymore for the same reason that Cubbie said. Like I can run up everything off of a 15 amp circuit. Like I don't even need a 20 amp. Like if everything that I have in my system can run off of 15, even when I'm doing my big school events, because the speakers have become way more efficient, and everything else. My computer charging probably is the one that draws the most power. But I would definitely recommend picking up an amperage meter, a voltage meter, and plugging all your stuff into it and seeing what your draw is. Because just because somebody says, "Oh, it should probably be okay," like that's the easiest way to know exactly how much you're pulling. And maybe there's some nuance about your system that's causing it to draw more than what we might realize. Something might be faulty and you don't know it. So, just they're really inexpensive. While Cubby was talking, I was like, I know I have one on my shelf over there. I just don't know where it is. Um, but I would pick one of those up, and like I said, they're pretty cheap for the most part
Yeah,
to
that's
get
what Dan's
halfway
referring to
decent.
is the kilowatts, and I'm just going to put the link in the
Yeah.
chat there because yeah, we use those quite often. Um, if we'd be having this discussion 30 years ago when we had incandescent light bulbs and we had vertigos that had two 300-watt bulbs in there, so the vertigo is drawing approximately 650 watts each time you turned it on. Well, you take two vertigos, 650 plus 650 is 1300 watts, and you are going to get approximately 1500 watts of power out of a 15 amp or 15 amp outlet. So you basically, two vertigos would be one circuit. Then your speakers at the time, our amplifiers were not quite as efficient as they are today. So you'd figure if you were running two amplifiers on another outlet, you were there. And then if we had any other lights, say we like floodlights. Hey, yeah, we got 8 floodlights up there. They're 300-watt floods. Well, if all 8 of them are on, 300 times 8 is 2400. So I need to have each of those trees technically on their own circuit. So now I'm up to 4 circuits. And that's not even with any strobes, because I've got 1500 watts strobes back there with the big xenon bulb or whatever they were. I mean, I'm sure Dave mentioned lighting was the big problem. There were times we had 8 circuits to run just a high school show, and not even a really big high school show. Today, that whole thing with LED technology and things could be run much easier. Much easier indeed. So,
Especially with the amount of battery units that we have.
oh, exactly. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's ways to even get around the draw of power, but I do not have anything in my contract anymore when it comes to that. I do have clients that ask about that on a regular basis, where they're like, "Hey, now how much power do you need?" Because we're getting kind of allocating a room. It's like, if I have just an outlet, but I'd like to have it by myself, I'm good. I can make that work. Oh, well, there's 4 outlets back there, and they said those outlets are on 2 different circuits, and they're all for you. Gee, I'll suffer.
I just love when the tent lights are on the same circuit as us.
Yeah, that I had one of those this summer where they started out and it was going to be, and it's like, well, I looked at it, and it's like those are LED, right? And they're like, no, those aren't. Those are some of our old Christmas lights. It's like, ooh, can I get another cord or another outlet, and I'll run my cord from wherever that is? Oh, well, you have an outlet right behind you that you can use that one. We'll just move our Christmas lights down the way. Yay! Yay!
But those big roasters, white roasters, do suck a lot of power.
But they make the greatest pulled pork sandwiches.
Yes, but they do pull a lot of power. Just make sure you're in a separate circuit than them.
Yeah, but I mean,
There's lots of them.
as long as they're letting me to eat the pulled pork sandwich, I mean, I can, you know. Well, my
He'll
sound
unplug a
system
speaker
burned out,
just
but
for that time.
what was that, Dan?
You'll unplug a speaker just so that you can get a
Yeah.
sandwich.
Yeah, who needs bass? We're having pulled
You
pork
need 2
sandwiches.
speakers.
Lights? Hey, we don't need no stinking lights. Laptop? Yeah, if the battery runs out, so we'll all sing along. It'll be great. It'll be great. Okay, let's jump to our next question. All right, guys. The next one, somebody was kind of getting back into it, and they were wondering how people set their DJ rates today. And in different shows and things, we've talked about this. And one of I did a series on this a few years back that I still think is somewhat apropos, where kind of went through and actually figured out what the costs were of producing and what it was all about, and then coming up with a minimum rate, and then figuring out how much a person wants to make above that, and then putting it all together. But most people don't spend that amount of time because, well, that's a lot of monkeying around and diddling around. So how did you come up with where your DJ rates are today?
Guess I'm first again.
Yeah, go.
It was in some aspects it was a shot in the dark. It really was. Like, and that was just my being ignorant to the process. Like what John was suggesting, I highly recommend for anybody anywhere. Just because from the standpoint of, okay, if this is the amount of money that is going out, then this is how much I need to bring in, plus whatever I need to do for myself. So I really think that needs to be key, as you try and figure out, because then anything above there becomes the extra, becomes the basis for you going, you know what, I'm better, and so I deserve more than that. Not I'm better, so I'm just going to charge more. Like you have kind of a basic fee structure to yourself and how you're kind of going about it. I think that really becomes key. But I'll be honest, for myself, it was kind of like I was doing a price that was probably breaking even in all, in all reality. And then I realized DJs could charge more, so I started charging more. And then, as we talked last week, I started taking some classes, which gave me the confidence to then charge more. And so now it's not I'm charging this to cover my expenses and pay myself. I know my expenses are covered. Now any price increase or any structure that I have is because I feel that I'm worth that extra from where I was at before.
Cubbie, how did you come up with your rates?
I had to just dissect all my expenses, and that includes everything from advertising to business insurance to taxes to workman's comp, um, and then per employee, and then what they wanted to make, what they agreed to work for me, and then what I want to make on top of that for the percentage. But when you're dissecting your business, you got to make sure you take everything in consideration: your music costs, and what you pay monthly for it, and so on. We use promo only, my software through DJ Event Planner, all those different expenses, and then what I have to pay my employees, and then I can make $20 per event, so I feel pretty good.
Nice, nice. I bet you don't have to go buy holy pants then at $20.
No,
You can get the nice ones.
we're up to
Nice.
Happy
You get the
Meals.
nice ones with the patches on the knees. Oh
Yeah, we're into Happy Meals now.
yeah. Oh man, that's
You
big time.
priced those lately? I don't even want to say that.
Yeah, it's true.
That is true. Yeah. I think you're back to the AM/PM hot dogs there, but So this is, been doing this for a long time. And then when we very first started, the way we set our prices was basically on what every other DJ was kind of figuring out what other DJs were charging, and $50 less than that. That was the way of doing it. And then the idea behind that was, okay, now that we've got this $200, how are we going to be able to, what do we do with it to put money into, and, maybe pay ourselves a little bit or pay the business off, whatever. That's the methodology that was used for much of the early 90s. And as we continued on and raised prices throughout the mid 90s, really never sat down and put numbers together. It was generally kind of working backwards and saying, okay, so we now are booking 10 shows on a regular basis, and it looks like we're going to be making this amount of money. Hey, we can actually put this much money into advertising. We've got some money for this. We've got some money for that. So it was kind of a putting the cart in front of the horse in many ways, but that's what really was part of that process. And then after in the late 90s, early 2000s, hearing about the whole getting what you're worth, and that DJs could charge more than $600 for wedding services, because it was a service that was sought after and it was needed, and even then, we didn't really have a reason for it. It was a little bit later, as I've spent more time learning about the business side of things, that became maybe we should figure out these other aspects of it. What does it cost to do, like as Cubbie was saying? What are my expenses? Am I, when it became so do you make any money DJing? And it's like, maybe, that's kind of how it was, and for a period of time. And one of probably the most eye-opening times of talking about money when it came to DJs and how much they end up putting in their pocket is a mutual friend of ours, was at a DJ event, and he basically went through and took all of his expenses and such of his DJ, plus his, all of his income, all of his expenses, his time and such. He knew all the hours that were involved with the year of DJing, and by the time when he worked it all out, he ended up making like $1.75 or $2 an hour for his time as a DJ for the whole year. So for every hour that he put into his business, he made about $2. And of course, that was a real big eye-opening thing, and for all of us in the room, because none of us really had gotten that in depth with it. That was one of the first times that I really saw somebody go into the literally nickels and dimes of it to figure it out. But it was again an eye-opening situation that, hey, I don't want to be making less than, and I've even made reference to this, I can make more, selling Big Macs at McDonald's. But we're back to McDonald's again. But anyway, you can make more there than as a mobile DJ. And for a lot of us out there, that's still the case even today, is that by the time you do your expenses for your business and do this and that, you probably could be making more, putting more money in your pocket from McDonald's. You may not like what you're doing as much. You may not, whatever. But the reality is, until you actually figure out what your expenses are and figure out how much you want to make, you'll never be making that big $20 bill until you actually get the point to doing that.
One of the quickest ways I kind of realized whether I was, making money or the business was living off of me was when I got my own business account. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you might be a sole proprietor. It might only be you, and you may not be married. You may be completely single, and everything. I would still recommend that you have a bank account that is purely the business, and everything that comes in from your business, every income piece goes in there, every outcome and every expense comes out of it. And then you pay, you figure out a way to pay yourself, and that's money that you move over to your personal side and you put that in. And at the end of the year, if that business account is not higher than what it was when you started, your business is not making money. You might be still have that livable income, but you want both of those to be able to grow, right? You want both of them to be able to kind of flourish. And so if they're not, then I would, and that's the easiest way. That's when I kind of realized, one, that my business was in a healthy position because my bank account for my business was growing, and yet I was still paying myself off of every event. So that's one of the, and it can also kind of give you an idea. Can I now that it's growing, can I pay myself a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I was thinking I was taking 50% off the event. Well, maybe now I can take 75% off the event because that's how much that was growing in a year. And it's a lot faster to see without having to crunch a ton of numbers and get, buried in all the data.
Dan, you read the book Profit First, didn't you?
I have not, but I've listened to quite a bit about it. And
Mm-hmm.
Jason Spencer, when he was really into kind of promoting it and his angle on it, took a lot of what he was sharing out from that to kind of have that same idea.
Yeah, that's for those of you watching. Profit First would be a great resource also for getting into much of what Dan was talking about when it came to the paying and business expenses and things. And he kind of turns things around a little bit from what we traditionally are taught, or we hear from the Dave Ramsey world. It's a little bit different process and thought process, but could be a hugely valuable book for a lot of folks. And I put the link down in the chat so you guys can jump out there and grab that. So, one last question, guys, and I think we're going to wrap it up. Final question for tonight, guys, is what kind of tools do you carry? Like repair tools, hand tools. Obviously our DJ gear is tools, but I mean, it's something that could fix. What do you carry with you in either your bag or in your vehicle or in your trailer, whatever? What are some common things that are with you all the time?
I have one of those NLFX multi-tools and I got them at a trade show like years ago. They have all sorts of little like different head screwdrivers from large to small, and then it's got some Allen wrenches that are pretty much universal. that you can use, and it's the best little tool ever. I don't know if you can buy it, but they gave it away several years ago, so I snagged like 3 or 4 of them, and each one of my DJs have one.
Nice. Yeah,
But it is a multi-head that has different various screw heads and Allen wrenches. So
and
that's what I
that's
carry.
pretty much okay. Damn.
I really don't carry much of anything. The only two things that I think that are in my bag that I carry on a regular basis is I carry a set of Allen wrenches because I have some lights where I always feel like I have to tighten, and they're Allen wrenches. Um, and carry a pair of scissors, and I don't really carry much beyond that, tool wise, because I don't want to be fixing at an event. I have backup equipment, and that's what I'm making sure that I have to carry. So if something's breaks or whatever, I go grab the other piece and I'll fix it later when I get home.
Sure, that makes sense. I have a Leatherman, the multi-tool that has the pliers and it has the knives and different things. I have a multi-tip screwdriver that is a Milwaukee or a Klein tool, one of them, but it's a higher end one that has a lot of different, I think it's got 13 different pieces. I have both metric and SAE Allen wrenches that are in the vehicle. I've got a pliers in there. I have a adjustable end wrench, commonly known as a crescent wrench, that is in there. I don't have a hammer in there because I figured that either the crescent wrench or the pliers becomes a tap hammer if needed. I don't have anything for other screwdrivers beyond that one. And the final piece that's in there that is people would be like, why would you have that? Is I have a chisel. I have a like a wood, a sharpened a little wood chisel in there, because there's times where weird things, if you need to pry something over or move something over, or you need to do something gets bent and I need to straighten it, that little chisel thing works incredibly well. It's actually in my tool belt. It's like utility knife and that are probably the two most used piece. So yeah, just a wood chisel. And these things all sit in my truck. The Leatherman comes with me, but everything else is just in the truck under the seat in a little case that is there. Actually, what else is under there is there's a tow strap because I've got a truck. It's a 4-wheel drive and I live in Minnesota and there's snow, and rubber overshoes. So in case I get to a place and there's mud. For those of you who are interested in what I've been talking about with the wood chisels, I just dropped a link in there. But those things are just weird how often that I use that stuff. So,
Cubbie, are you surprised that the weekend handyman has a bunch of tools that he carries with him to his events? I'm just saying.
Not
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
not at all.
yeah. That was a cheap advertising questionnaire for me, guys.
He's dropping all the links down there to all those people that
yeah,
he.
and then here's my Milwaukee link if you want to really know.
I think those are great, but I just
I
being
understand
prepared is a good idea.
Yeah, but the idea of if you're fixing something at a show, you're probably not doing what you should be doing. Getting prepared and doing this. Basically, these are. If there's this is the only thing that might keep it alive or salvage something, or in some cases that something happened and there was a dent in a grill, and if I can do something to make it so it doesn't look as noticeable, yeah. I mean, that's where the old black marker came out back in the days when we had our wood speakers. Is that, oh my gosh, I got a gash in there and it's going to look terrible. Well, wait a second. Sharpie. Yeah. That's got the 5 foot. It has a 5 foot look. We can handle this. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was fun. We got through, I think, almost all of our questions.
Yeah, let's get some more ready.
Yeah.
And we're off next weekend, right? Or next Monday?
Labor Day. Next Monday's Labor Day, yeah. And then the week after, then I will be at Township, doing the Township thing. So yeah, next Monday we'll be running one of our past virtual training nights. We'll throw one of those out there and have some fun with that. So yeah, I think that's about it. DJNTV.com/chill. The guys were getting ready in the chill room. I saw some already checking in here about an hour ago. So they'll be having a session to chat and such tonight, and yeah, I think I've got a video dropping tomorrow. Dan, did you have a video this week?
created a couple of them. I think I've got some in the storage.
I think there's one more. That's right, because we did the one about the plug-in last week, which actually had some really good viewership feedback on that one. They like that. They like that gear one.
It is Dan's night tonight.
Yeah, it's just on
Dan got the gold star in his refrigerator.
Hey, listen, I get one a year.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so starting the school year off with one, and,
Yeah.
and now he's got the. Alrighty, well, Dan, take us home here.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you everybody for taking time to join us tonight, or whether you're, catching the video on replay. We very much appreciate all viewership, and anything you want to share. Like if you want to share it with all of your friends, go ahead and do that, because they would love to learn the questions too. So, that's how it goes. All right. Have yourself a good one. We'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.